Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you 10 lessons that I learned in the last 10 years. So, as someone who's moved countries and shifted, I've experienced a lot in life. So, lesson number one is document everything. This you want to do for your business, especially you want to follow up with paperwork, things like that. You want to make sure you document everything and you don't rely on your mind. The older you get, the more you forget, or the more information you have to process, and you end up forgetting a lot of things. There's a lot of times whereby when I'm speaking to my partner and she's like, I need you to do this and do that, and I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And then like 2 hours later, did you do it? Nope. Or sometimes I have conversations with people and they're like, oh, you didn't say this. And you're like, yo, no, I told you this. I told you about this. So it's very important to have all your work documented. Or sometimes when people share with you advice, write it down somewhere, because you never know when you need this advice. And there's nothing that hurts them or sucks when life moves on and you're like 2 years later, like, oh, so and so once told me something about this and you didn't document it. So for me, what I've started doing is I've started journaling. It helps me a lot, and I put in days. So sometimes when I want to reflect on a day and be like, oh, I learned this about this, I know at the certain time period, and I can go just open my journal and see. Number two is you got to align your career with who you are. This is a fundamental thing. You see, when we were young and we were being asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? A pilot, a doctor, a this. As you get older, you start to understand your personality and things that you enjoy, things that make you who you are. For me, my recommendation for a lot of people is try your best to align your career with the person that you are. For me, I'm somebody who likes telling stories. I'm somebody who enjoys watching movies. I'm somebody who enjoys making this stuff. Like, I enjoy sitting in front of a camera and talking to you guys at home. I enjoy being on set. I enjoy being a director. So my career, I started out working I did my degree. So my bachelor's degree was in Bachelor of Commerce in marketing. I majored in marketing. And then my master's degree was another business degree. And then the first job that I worked was in the advertising. I was in advertising. In advertising, I gravitated towards video content. So I've always been a director because I've always been a storyteller. And that thing that I learned within that time period was I saw a lot of people, a lot of my friends envied the things that I did, the amount of fun that I had to get, because in advertising, it's all we do. And they were not happy with what they were doing, because a lot of them were not doing things that were who they were. They were doing a lot of things to make money, But the difference is the same, is if you become good at whatever role you're doing, you are likely going to get paid, especially things like marketing. If you can help businesses make more money, they'll pay you a lot of money. Number three is do not hunt for a mentor. As I'm almost 30, and I can safely say that I have had mentors, but I haven't had a mentor. Like, I don't have someone who can look at my life and say, I'm the one who helped you navigate life. You don't have to hunt for these people. If they do show up in your life, yeah. But for me, a lot of my mentors, I read about them in their biographies. Guys like Steve Jobs, guys like Elon Musk, guys like Quentin Tarantino, Christopher Nolan. These are people that I look up to, but I don't really be like, I gotta get Christopher Nolan's phone number so that he can do this. If you read that book, Think and Grow Rich, the guy who wanted to work with Carnegie and all that stuff, like, that's not me. For me, I just believe you don't really have to seek out mentors. You have to understand what you want in your life and then pursue that, because you waste a lot of time trying to speak to someone who's pursuing their dreams. So focus more of your time on building your craft and making yourself better, and having a game plan of how you're going to achieve what you need to achieve. The fourth thing is you got to stick to the facts. Facts are facts. We can all dream about things, but what are the facts? What did somebody do? You have to stick. For me, give me the facts. Here's the thing, Kevin. You are fat. Okay, fine. We don't use that word. You're overweight. You have to lose weight. If you lose weight, it reduces your risk of having high blood pressure. It reduces your risk of this. This is the fact. So for me, I deal in facts. I don't like dealing with anything else, because once you start dabbling into non-factual things, you create problems for yourself. Number 6 is rules are man-made. You have to understand this. So in any role that you do, especially in creative stuff, there are rules to everything. There are rules to writing a story. You have, we all know the 3-act structure: beginning, mid to end. There's the 5-act structure. You have things like that. What you want to understand is all these rules that we abide by are developed by men and can be broken. The idea is rules are there to set a perimeter in which we operate, that give us, people who are starting out, who have no idea what you're doing, how things are done. You learn the rules, you understand them, but you have to understand you can always break them. A lot of times you don't have to follow certain paths. When I was growing up, the rules were you go to school, you finish school. Once you're done with school, you go in university. After university, you get a job. After you get a job, you get married. All these things, like somebody said them, but you can be like, no, I'm not gonna follow that. The 3x structure, I don't like it. If you've watched a Christopher Nolan movie, like, come on, that guy doesn't even write things in any form of direction. He does what he wants, and that allows him to express himself as a creative. Life goes full circle. When I was 20, I used to say to my mom, I'm gonna go out in the world, I'm gonna find happiness, but everything comes full circle. Eventually, I realized the only person that really has to love me is myself. The things that I'm pursuing, that I'm running afterwards, are internal. So a lot of things, life comes full circle, and that for me was like one of those lessons where you just go, wow. And the funny thing is, talking to my mom, who was an elder, she understood this exuberance of youth. Like, well, child, you will see. In Zimbabwe, we have this thing where they say, grow up and see it for yourself. Eventually. The next thing is, you gotta keep your ear to the ground. You always gotta be listening, because things are happening. When you're looking for opportunities, when you're looking for things, you have to be outside and keep your ear to the ground with an understanding that something might pop off at any moment. Either that can be a good thing, for example, there's an opportunity. If you're there constantly listening, there might be opportunity for a raise that coming up, like for they need a new person to go work there. If you're constantly in the know, you're ready to take care of opportunities. But also the negative in the adverse thing, like you can hear someone going, oh, a couple of thieves are gonna show up, and then you'd be like, okay, a couple of thieves are gonna show up, I'm not gonna be involved. I'm gonna go home. It doesn't make you a coward, it just makes you like, I don't want no smoke, right? I don't want no smoke. I'm not a street person. I'm just a good person. The next lesson is, don't accept the first offer. Never accept the first offer. So when it comes to negotiation, for me, unless you give me an absurd amount of money, I'm not accepting the first offer. You have to negotiate. You have to negotiate your value. You have to negotiate your worth. So what tends to happen a lot of times is, when it's a buy and sell, the buyer wants to pay the least, the seller wants to get the most. So the first offer that you get, if somebody is trying to buy something from you, they'll lowball you. They'll be like, yeah, I'll pay you 20,000, but your thing is worth 50,000. Stick to your offer. Be like, yo, man, I want 45. And then you can negotiate and understand your value in any negotiation. I really recommend reading the book by Chris Voss. It helps a lot with negotiation. Always have something to say, but don't just speak your mind, okay? You gotta have something to say. This comes from knowledge and experience and reading and having a deep understanding of the subject matter. Don't just say things to say things, you know what I mean? But always have something to say, contribute, especially when you're working. For me, when I was in the workforce, when I worked in advertising, I ended up being the guy that people will come to get ideas, fresh perspective, because I was a young person who was ambitious. So a lot of times, like, in order to get that respect from people who've been doing something, because a lot of times when you go into workplaces, people have been doing something for so long that they have a formula, and they'll continue doing it the way that they've done it until somebody brings in fresh perspective and is able to convince them. So if the discussion is happening and you want to be respected, always have something to say, always have an opinion. Make sure your opinion is heard. Be respectful, but make sure that in any room that you get into, your voice speaks. I know people say that you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. No, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but contribute, be part of the conversation, and make impressions on people. You don't want to be forgotten. Even if, for example, you're an actor, you're doing this stuff, just don't be forgotten. Don't let people forget you. Stay fresh, top of mind. And then the 9th lesson is, be seen to have a niche. So one of the things in marketing, and I've seen it on YouTube, like a lot of times when you like, how do I start a YouTube channel? People would be like, niche down, niche down, niche down. What happens is, in marketing, we have different strategies when it comes to businesses and how we segment the market that we're going to attract. This is a strategic idea. So there are 4 ways. Number 1 is mass marketing. This is where you produce content, where you produce items for the entire world, where you just going for everybody. This works especially with things like candy. You're not really creating premium candy, you're just creating candy for everybody. These businesses tend to be lucrative because your pool of customers are huge. right? But the challenge with that is you cannot, not everything is for everybody. So you don't really know who you're targeting, you're just spraying it. And then the next segment that we have is where you have a segmented market. So you're not necessarily going for everybody, but you're also not going for everybody. And then the third one is where you segment it based off of groups. So you're now grouping people like by market segmentation. It can be geographical. Say, okay, we only target America. This is where we are at. And then the fourth one where niching comes down is whereby now you're saying we only create premium planes or premium cars. You're a niche because there's a certain group of people that you're going for. You're a Rolls Royce. There's a certain group of people that Rolls Royce targets. And that's what niching down does. What niching down does is you have your core audience, your core group of people that you serve. And this group of people attract everyone else. So for example, Rolls Royce is a certain target group of customers that they have. But the rest of us, in as much as we are not part of this, we are dreamers. And one day, if we cross that threshold, we all want to buy a Rolls Royce because we believe it to be a symbol of status. But it's not really a symbol of status. It's just that they niched down and they went for somebody. Another way of niching down is just creating specific things for specific stuff. So you have somebody who just creates, things such as this Apple pens, like if you're making this, your niche simply means anybody who owns an iPad. Those are the people that you attract. So what tends to happen in that case is you want to be seen to have a niche, but you don't necessarily have a niche. For example, if you look at iPhone, people say Apple is targeting this, but no, they're targeting a lot of people. So you want to be seen like you have a niche, but don't have a niche. Keep yourself open and serve everybody. And then the final lesson that I learned was you want to take on the hard stuff. Everybody goes for the easy stuff. So for example, let's say we have a tree, right? People will go for the low hanging fruit because that's the easiest to get. But it's the person who goes for the higher hanging fruit that gets the best fruit. That's not affected, that's not touched, that is nothing that's done to it. And you have less competition when you go for the harder stuff. And hard stuff, what's hard stuff? Things such as being a content creator. This is a hard life because building an audience is almost next to impossible. Imagine, why would people want to watch you? Like, that's difficult. Or things such as, I don't know, man, like you tell me in the comment section, what's a hard thing that you can go after? Going to Mars. Like, why would you go to Mars when we have problems on Earth? Makes you a, $100 billion guy who can buy a social media platform so that you can tweet out and bring back your friends and do whatever you need to do. It makes you have an electric vehicle that doesn't, these things existed back in the day. And then once you have them, you end up with a Tesla thing, this thing called a Tesla that people drive around because it was almost impossible. And people forget, 20 years later, they're like, oh yeah, no, this guy should be stopped. But this was impossible. And the reward for taking on the hard work is massive. So yeah, these are some of the lessons that I learned. I've learned a lot, man. Like, I've been here for a long time. And if you are younger than me, listen, man, I'm glad you get to learn from the old generation. We're getting older, but it makes us wiser as well, right? One of the other lessons that I learned, but I learned this more than 10 years ago, is to always have goals. I made this video for you that will help you with your goal setting. And then here are 5 things that I changed in my life that helped me improve and build wealth that I'm on this journey with. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be seeing you in the next one.